Hello everyone, welcome to Cameras and Tech. My name is Joe. I'm a tech enthusiast and filmmaker based out of Austin, Texas. Today we're going to talk about the new firmware release by Canon for the Canon C70, how it unlocks the Canon Cinema Raw Lite, and what that means for the film industry. I'll also give you some impressions on my first time using it, so stay tuned. Let's go over some of the basics of raw video codecs. Raw video is the unprocessed information coming from your camera's sensor packaged into a file type that allows you to choose your own level of processing in post using your editing device. The advantages of doing something like this are that you can change pretty much every parameter that you shot the footage in. Things like the log file that you want to use. So for my camera, it will be C-Log3, C-Log, or C-Log2. Or just change it to Rec 709 as if you shot it in standard profile. These are things that you can now change in post. But that's not it. With the Canon Raw Utilities app, you can go in and change the settings that you shot the footage in, like white balance, ISO, etc. This essentially gives you the ultimate flexibility in post. High-end movie shoots opt for shooting in RAW most often just to give their editors the ability to change the look of an entire scene. The disadvantages of raw video are mainly based upon its sheer size and not the utility. The bitrate used to record them is usually really massive. So large, in fact, that small productions would be spending so much of their resources just on storage like SD cards and external drives that it just wouldn't even be worth it. Now on to the Canon Cinema Raw Lite LT and ST. Canon updated the C70 with the ability to shoot in these two new versions of RAW codec that allows for more manageable sizes compared to other RAW. I'm talking about 1/4 the size of something like ProRes RAW. Bit rates are so modest, they can be written onto a lowly SD card. So say goodbye to CFast cards and writing directly onto external drives in order to save money on storage. You can get almost the basic level of SD card, just a little bit higher, and it'll work out just fine. This makes the raw video more accessible to creators just like me. Canon Cinema Raw LT shoots at a bitrate of 259 megabits per second at 24 frames per second, which allows for about 65 minutes of shooting on my 128 gigabyte SD cards. If you've ever dealt with RAW files, you know how insane this is. So with my dual 128 gigabyte cards without dual slot recording, I can shoot up to 2 hours and 10 minutes in professional RAW format. The bit rates are 259, 323, and 645 megabits per second for 24p, 30p, and 60p respectively when using Canon Raw LT. While I will add that Canon included a larger Raw ST option, I wasn't able to see much of a difference when it came to pixel peeping in post. But the bitrate for that file type is 398 megabits per second for 24p and 497 megabits per second for 30p, which will be your highest frame rate for Raw ST. For low budget documentary shooters or small productions, this really changes up the game and puts the C70 a step above using a mirrorless or DSLR camera. Hybrid cameras like the R5 1DX Mark III shoot in RAW as well, but the limitations of their sensors disallow for the full use of RAW the way the C70 uses it. The combination of the DGO sensor with the C70, you get a whopping 16 stops of dynamic range and 12-bit color depth. That's RE territory as far as specs go. And you don't have to worry about any of the problems overheating. The body of the C70 accommodates for a lot of the thermal requirements of shooting in RAW a lot better than a lot of those hybrid bodies. Using the C70 RAW codecs for the first time requires a plugin if you're going to use it with Final Cut Pro, but I believe DaVinci and Premiere Pro come with the ability to edit them right away. Downloading and installing the file from Canon's support site was easy enough. Just one thing I wanted to add. You cannot edit the camera's captured settings on your Final Cut Pro or Premiere timeline. You can only do that through the Canon Utilities app, which takes a little bit of time to render. But think of it more as insurance rather than something you do every single time. Just in case you decide on a completely different look or you overexpose just a bit, you can go back and change the file as if it never happened. Just hop in and change all of it. From this experience, I will tell you that this level of flexibility and editability in these types of files, it gives me the ability to not really even need to change those settings often. So I won't be using the Utilities app unless I really mess something up or I decide to go in a completely different direction. The amount of color information and data allows for you to be really aggressive with the changes in post. So you'll find that even with simple mess ups in white balance and ISO, you'll be able to recover a whole lot more than you can with a 10-bit file or the files that you're used to shooting. Just give it a try. I'll leave some samples of raw files in the description for everyone to use. Thanks for joining me for this little C70 update video. I hope you got something out of it. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe if you want to see more camera or tech content. See you next time.